morning, August 3rd, Tuesday. It's in the morning. Yeah, good morning, clearly. Didn't do a lot of packing yesterday. It's kind of like in a funk. Where I was just kind of, I covered the holes in the wall. That got done. And I got, like, I caught stuff off my to-do list. There's still other stuff I gotta do. I'm officially starting training today. I don't know if I'm gonna move stuff out, but I'm just gonna pack stuff up. So I'm preparing the video. Like last night I stayed up preparing some of the videos for this week to get a head start, right? Because I'm gonna be busy and moving in 3 days. And it's funny because some of the themes are repeating now, you know, and even the timeline of certain stuff. I was like, oh snap, like that's gonna land on that day. That's the day that I had planned this. Like it's, and then even I tried like postponing it a day and then I completely forgot, and then it still was like landing on that day or on the day, right? In my head, I'm like, oh, if I skip a day, yeah, that didn't work. It still ended up on that day. But anyways, so I had a dream. I've been having more dreams lately, and with these, like, I've been having more dreams that, and I'm not taking my dreams, you know, not lightly anymore. One of the videos that I posted this weekend was when I had a dream of something, and I think it's unfolding from what other people are telling me. And you know, this week there was also, I'm posting another video of when I had that image of the gun, and I was in the middle of my sleep state, and I was waking up, and I just remember out of nowhere, like, that image just came up, and me working late at night, and then the police officer, who was dressed as a police officer, but I knew it wasn't a police officer, had that gun, and it was pointing at me or next to me. And then that situation that occurred with my neighbors, and that feeling, right? So I had another dream. To prepare for this dream, I have to backtrack as to what happened yesterday. I was looking at someone's post, or just the post on Instagram. I don't go on there often, and so I went on there, and it's been a while, and then I'm becoming a Jewel Salas print. And she posted it today, her painting of me. She's converting it into a print. So I was like, oh, that's really cool. So I was promoting that on my page, like, hey, if anybody wants a nude painting of me, you know, go on her website and order one. But so yeah, where's it going with that? Oh, I was on Instagram, and I see this loved one who's struggling with loss, and you know, she's posting that she's gonna adopt a dog, and it triggered in me, in therapy, when we're dealing with grief and loss, that used to be something like a coping technique that, you know, we knew could potentially help families ease the pain of loss. And I mentioned before, like, coping techniques serve a purpose, but when you rely on them too much and not deal with the underlying issues, it's like you're just, it's, you know, a balloon waiting to pop, really. And so, I don't know what that was. Oh, someone was calling me. And so, anyways, so it triggered in me that memory of, like, grief and loss, and yes, you know, there's this recommendation of, like, oh, get yourself a pet, right? It'll help ease the pain. And it does, right? Because you're not left feeling alone with that pain of the loss. And so it reminded me of a conversation that I had with another loved one when I was house sitting, and we were talking about self-worth. And we were talking, because she came up to me and she was just talking about, she's just like, what is it with people and midlife crisis? She said, you gotta explain this to me. Clearly because of probably what I was going through, right? My midlife. But the universe was putting in front of her example after example after example. There was this theme, there was this pattern that was unfolding. She was being more aware, right? Like within our reaction, like she's told me, she's just like, I'm grateful for you because I am more aware, and I see myself growing. So I was grateful to hear that, right? That was another video where I'm talking about advice, that I feel good when people take my advice, and then I can see the growth in them unfold, and I'm seeing her grow, right? And she's coming to me, and she's just like I see it. She sees it within herself. She's loving this new her, and she's still fighting with her ego, like clearly, right? So anyways, she's just like, I don't get it. This keeps happening to me. And so she's like, this is the pattern that I'm seeing. And I know that it's the universe. I know it's God preparing me for something else because I saw it happen, right? So I was like, okay. And so she talked about infidelity. And she talked about these cases on both. There was in one relationship, it was the wife that was unfaithful, and then in the other situation it was the man that was unfaithful, and dealing with the women, both women, in separate situations. But she's just like, I don't get it. So then I said, it's and then I mentioned to her Esther Perel, and I sent her that link, and I'll include that link in the description box below, like how great, like how she looks at it, and I remember being blown away by how she reframed that situation, right, for couples, in terms of how do they deal with that situation, right, and move on. And so in essence, Esther Perel talks about how you have to have that realization that this chapter of your marriage has come to an end, right? The chapter that included the disillusionment, whatever expectations you put on this other person for your sense of worth, right? Your sense of happiness is no longer there. And you have a choice to start this new chapter together. And so I really liked, and then she ties in trauma, she ties in like all this other stuff. It's just really great. So I referred her to that. And then I talked to her about coping. I said, because she's just like, why don't they say anything? I'm like, because they're just coping through life. When you have children, you're coping through life, right? Your level of awareness is different, right, when you have children, because it's all about the children, right? And I mentioned that the children could be a third-party situation as well, like as this situation of being unfaithful, where there's somebody else entering into that dynamic. Children it's the exact same thing. And so we were talking about my relationships and my past, and letting her know, like, there were moments in my past that I realized, I was like, this is gonna bite me in the ass. I know this is gonna bite me in the ass. And it was when I was moving on ahead. And I think I mentioned, like, my marriage was good. Like, there wasn't any drama. There was no extreme of drama, or, where people would say, like, oh, what happened, where they expected that we would break up. If anything, it was the opposite, where they're like, what happened? Like, we didn't see this coming. And it's just that we were at a different energetic level. We always were at a different energetic level. And it just took me 12 years or 14 years to figure that out. Like, it just, and to do something about it. And so, so in that conversation, she was I think she was trying to, like, find a way to see if there was a way where our marriage maybe could have been safe, because she comes from a very religious background, and she in her religion, she believes that a child needs a mother and a father. Like, that has to be the family unit. And then I was trying to explain to her, I'm like, no, you can't look at it. You can't look at a family unit like that, because just because you have a mother and father doesn't mean that everything's going to be peachy, right? Like, I'm like, I've seen enough, I've worked with enough families to know that that's not true. And now she's being exposed to, like, after we had that conversation the next day, she had new families that were coming in, and she's like, Yubi, and she's asking for my help, right? With these littles, and she's like, you're so right, like, there's this situation, and so just because it's a mother and father doesn't mean everything's gonna be peachy. So anyways, she made a comment to me about that maybe my ex needed children, that maybe he would have changed if we had children. And I remember, like, like, I don't think you get it. I don't think you get it. If right now, without children, I'm seeing this in my partner and in myself as well, right? A reflection of my sense of self-worth. I'm like, and we put a child in that mix to try to fill that hole. What's going to happen when that child leaves? I'm going to be left with that hole still to figure it out. And then I reminded her, I'm like, don't you remember what you told me years ago? She told me, she's just like, I'm afraid when my children leave. I'm afraid to be alone with my husband when my children leave the house. And I said, well, and she's just like, I don't know what that's going to look like, right? Because she lost herself in her children. She lost herself. She dedicated her whole life. And she realizes it now. She dedicated her whole life to her children, that she lost herself in that process. She didn't give herself time. It was give, 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 give all the time. And she lost herself. And she's just now, right, as the last child is getting ready to, like, move out in a couple years, she's just now starting to figure out who she is, her likes, her dislikes, right? And I said, a lot of people believe that having children is a fix, that that's what you need and you're going to be whole and complete. And I'm like, it's just another coping technique. And the funny thing is, like, there was a similar whiff of that conversation when I met up with the childhood acquaintance that I had. She didn't come up, like, she insinuated. And I remember she asked me, why didn't you have children? I said, because I never saw myself having children. She's like, well, neither did I, but look at me now. I'm like, yeah, you look tired. Like, and I'm just like, it just, you know, and there was this belief. She's like, oh, well, there's miracles and blah, 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 right? And I didn't think, it bothered me a little, but it didn't, because I've dealt with that before. Like, I remember being married, and there was this, you know, people talk, family members talk, and there was always this, like, when are you gonna have children? You need children in your life. That's why, you know, if they notice something or there was issues, you need to have a child. When are you gonna have a child? And I'm like, a child is not a fix to the problem. One, and, you know, and then just trying to assert myself. I grew up believing that something was wrong with me, that something was seriously wrong with me, because I did not see myself having children. There was no desire, like women. There's some women that are like on their biological clock. Impregnate me now. No. Like, I've never had that desire that strongly before. And I think now as an adult, now that I know myself a little bit better and I feel whole and complete within myself, can I see myself with a child? Yeah, like, what, you know, if I decide to settle down, then maybe, but I mean, I don't know if I see myself settling down anymore, you know, like, I don't know. I mean, maybe if the right person came along, maybe if the desire was there, just for the simple fact of creating a human being a little with someone, you know, I think just for the fun of that, you know, I feel not because I feel like I need one or you know, like, just for the simple fact of creating something great, right? That would be probably the only reason that I would want to have a child, is if I was in that place in my life where I'm like, I just want to create something wonderful, you know, and do that with this person that, you know, I love. But not just to fix a situation or fix a marriage. So anyways, this childhood acquaintance insinuated that that's what I needed, that I needed a blessing. And I'm just like, I was caught off guard. I was a little like, wow, like, people still think this way. That's how I was thinking about it. It's like, oh, people also think this way. That's right. That's right. That's right. And I didn't say much because then like she changed the topic and she went somewhere else. And I was like, okay. But that all of that got triggered yesterday when I saw this post of this loved one adopting a dog. And I was like, okay, well, that's where she's at, right? You know, everyone's at a different spot. It doesn't make it right or wrong. That's just where they're at. And I'm just hoping that she realizes, right, that it's not going to be a fix to how she's feeling. And that I hope that people understand that having children is not a fix to how that emptiness that you feel inside, right? A friend of mine sent me this little comic strip thing, and it's a cute little comic strip, and I'll try to include it in the video, like if you see it pop up somewhere. It's because I was able to do that, and if not, it'll be at the end. I have to find it. But it was like a little commercial, or a little comic strip thing, and it's like this little cartoon character with a hole in the middle, and they're trying to like fill it with stuff, and then there's this realization that that, you know, he finally gets to the point where he's just like, I don't need to feel it. I actually like the wind flowing right through the hole within me, or something like that, right? Just accepting the hole as part of who this little character is. I can't find it, but and so we actually had that conversation when I went to see him. I saw him this past weekend before the art show to say goodbye and stuff, and have like one more dinner with him, or one more breakfast burrito with him. And we talked about that, and so anyways, so that was triggered, and you know, I didn't think much of it until this morning when I had this dream, and I'm like, okay, fine, clearly I have to talk about this because it keeps being brought up. In my dream, I am actually with this loved one, this loved one that I had that conversation with about infidelity and about midlife crisis and children and family units. And she was in this room with me, and we were seeing this healer for whatever reason, and this mystic healer who it was like they were being channeled, like there was a channeling occurring in that moment, because it was someone like that I knew, kind of, or it was an acquaintance, and then they shifted, and then they did something to her, and I'm watching them do something to her, and then my loved one is just like she's in shock and she's in awe, and then at the end I'm like, are you okay? And she's just like, I had all this pain and now it's gone. And this loved one tends to have a lot of physical ailments in her body, and in my dream, like, it was all gone, and there was this like awareness within her, this realization, like, wow, like this world that I'm introducing to her is real, and there's that awareness that I sensed from her. And then this healer comes around to me, and I'm like, oh no, because I've been to a healer before, like, and I'll tell the story after. And she comes around to me, and I already know, like, I already know what she's gonna do. And sure enough, she puts her hand in my womb area, and I'm like, really? And I'm and I remember just kind of feeling like what, like there was this inner conflict within me of like, one, why does everybody assume that that's an issue for me? And then the other opposite end of like, is it really an issue for me? Like, is like trying to like align and trying to figure out, like, is there something off with me there? Is that why I've never been able to have children? Like, you know, and so now let me backtrack. So I woke up. I completely forgot about the dream, to be honest with you. Like, I completely forgot about the dream. It didn't hit me until I showered. Until I was showering, and I was just like, oh, I had that dream. Oh my gosh, that's what happened. Oh my gosh. And then the backward domino effect, right? Of like things that got triggered. I was like, oh, okay, all right. Just having to deal with that. And where it was initially triggered. And so when I was married, that was again a common theme. And it got to the point where I even believed it. I'm like, maybe having children will make me feel happier. Like, even though it was ingrained in me that I didn't want to have children, like, I did it for him. I was just like, do you want to have children? Because I will do it for you. Like, that's how much giving I was, like, of myself, right? With not honoring myself and my needs and my wants and desires. But you know, like, that's just where I was at. And he was ambivalent about it. But then he's like, all right, let's try it. I mean, we went and we got tested. And at that point in my life, I hadn't figured out that stress was a big culprit to my situation, because I wasn't ovulating every month. And I hadn't moved to the high desert. And so they gave me, so I mentioned that to them, and they gave me pills so I couldn't ovulate every month. And then, you know, he got tested too, and there was some stuff that, so it was like a mutual thing. Like, it just wasn't like a good match, you know? And so we were dealing with that stuff. I kid you not. We were at the point of having tried that and still no success. We were at the point where the specialist was about to say, okay, we're gonna impregnate you. Like taking it one step further than just the medication on both ends and seeing if that helps. But we're now going to have you come in and we're going to, you know, impregnate, like the little petri dish stuff. I kid you not. That was the month that my mother-in-law got really ill. And she was hospitalized for months. And that stopped that whole process. Like, I kid you not. That was like God right there, like saying, nope, this is not your path. Intervening. And that triggered him, because his mom, he loves his mom, and you know, and his mindset was on his mom's survival. I mean, they told us that his mom was gonna die. Like, had we waited to not take her in, and then that triggered something else in me. I was just like livid, because I'm just like, I don't like it when people don't take care of themselves. And so that triggered something else for me. So anyways, like, that just intervened, that interrupted that whole process purposefully, right? Purposefully. So, and then after that, like, it was always like, I think he got too comfortable. And because I never really had the desire for it, I didn't push it. I didn't push it. I never had that desire to have a child with him. Really, if I'm being honest. And I don't know if it's with him or just in general. Even though now, like, it'd be nice to have a child, but at the same time, like, I don't think I still don't have this inner, like, desire to have a child, like, or the need to feel whole and complete with a child. So was it before that? I don't remember if it was, I think it had to happen before that. It had to happen before that, because I remember, yeah. So we had gone to Mexico. We had gone to his family's little town. And I remember, again, back then, like, I didn't really have a voice. I didn't exert my own desires. I was very pleasing to everybody. Like, oh, okay, whatever you say, I do, right? And I remember, and this was before we attempted to have children. We went to Mexico, and then they suggested it again, the whole cultural thing of, like, you need a child. They suggested a healer, a town healer, who was known to help women conceive. And I remember there was what I didn't like was that there was this belief or this projection that it was at the fault of the woman, because the man, like, didn't have to go through what I went through, the healing that I went through, supposed healing, and I was pissed. I was pissed. That was when I was still a little more feminist. I was, like, pissed, but I couldn't say it. Like, I didn't have a voice. And I remember, remember being pissed and really pissed at myself, right? There's another video that came out about depression, that it's really like anger towards yourself, that you feel powerless, that you don't feel like you have a voice, right? And that turns into anger towards self and others. And I remember, because I felt bound to please everybody, that I didn't reject this, even though I was given the opportunity to. So it's not their fault. Like, I was given the opportunity to say no. And because I feared what that would look like, of not pleasing other people, I still said yes, even though I didn't want it. And so I remember being taken into like this little nook in the town, going up these stairs and just like shaking my head, like just, I was like pissed. And I go inside, and she takes me to this room, and it's like a super intense massage. Supposedly, like, they move the uterus around or whatever. And I remember she's just like, it's gonna be painful, so if you need to scream, go ahead and scream. And I was like, oh God. Back in the day, like, when I could tolerate more pain, clearly, right, and emotions, I was like, you better believe you're not gonna hear me cry. I'm like, I ain't one of those women. Right? And I didn't cry, I didn't scream out, and I was like breathing through the pain, and she was just like, you can scream. I'm like, no. It was serious. And I remember they made a comment that people that were waiting, like my husband and an aunt that I love dearly, she was out there, and she's like, she okay? Because I don't hear the crying, I don't hear the like, I guess the scandalo that women usually do. And I wasn't that type of woman. I'm just like, you're not gonna hear me cry. I ain't gonna give you that pleasure. I'm pissed. And I was breathing through the pain, and she was like rough, like she was intense, like she's like super like pushing everything, and I bottled it in. And I was like, she's not gonna hear me cry. And then there's like some teas or something that I had to cross over, and I never drank the teas. So I'm just like, no, it's a bunch of bullshit. Like, I remember thinking that, I'm like, this is a bunch of bullshit. And then I remember even making a comment to his aunt. I'm like, well, what if it's not me? Did you guys ever think that? And then she's like, well, no, you're right, maybe it isn't you. I'm like, I was pissed. And I remember the energy that I gave off, the bitterness and the anger, and I just stayed quiet. I was quiet the rest of the time. I remember that. So that dream triggered that memory in me, and I'm just like, oh, I remember that. And it was that same feeling that this healer just kind of just like I didn't say anything, like she just, and I think I might have met her once, maybe, like it felt like I had known her, and she just comes in, and I'm like, really? So I don't know why I had that dream, but that's what triggered all of this, all these stories. That's what triggered all these stories in me. So I just want to share that, because it's a dream. I've been having more dreams lately. And I don't know if that's a shift now, because I'm not meditating, because I packed up my stuff. So I haven't meditated. And then I try to meditate when I go to sleep, but then I end up falling asleep. So I end up having dreams instead. So I don't know if that's just a shift temporarily, or, I mean, one of the videos that I think I mentioned it, that one of my old colleagues had dreams that were coming true immediately. But I don't know if these dreams, because I'm recording them, if that tendency continues to happen, that when I post it, it'll come to light. But, you know, stay tuned. Continue to see if it continues to unfold in that way, or if it's just a dream to trigger memories. Let's see. All right, I need to get back to packing and doing a little bit of this training, so I can head out. So thanks for listening. My name is Yubi, and in case you haven't figured it out, this footage is capturing my experience experience as I learn to navigate my personal spiritual awakening. I am learning that this experience is unique to each one of us. In whatever way we believe we are embracing living our truth, this just happens to be my journey. And despite me having a graduate degree and a license in clinical social work, this by no means is intended to replace any type of mental health advice. This is just me on a personal level, documenting my experience, shedding light on the truth that I am learning and discovering for myself, and really inviting you along for the ride. If by some magical chance you find this content to be helpful in any way, shape, or form, please click the like button, share the message, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have an Instagram account, a personal one, and one specifically for this channel that you're more than welcome to check out. I'm an open book. I have also created t-shirt designs. I'm wearing my favorite one right now, which is the North Node design, but I have that and other things that you can look at inspired by this process and journey, and I have the link in the description box as well as in the about section of my YouTube channel. So you're more than welcome to check those items out. Any type of support is great. Again, if you find this content really helpful or meaningful, sometimes when we take that step and be vulnerable, with showing what's inside our hearts and what's really our truth, we realize that we're much more connected than what we thought we were. And so I hope that as I'm living this experience and that you find some type of truth for yourself, or find some type of ability to heal in some way just by relating, just by knowing that you're not alone. That really has been my goal with this process, not just being able to connect with others, but really for my own healing. It's definitely been a therapeutic experience and a very creative one for myself. So I thank you, and I wish you all the best, and we'll see what else comes next for me.